Hi, thank you for joining me today. SimCity again, SimCity 5, Part 2. Now, this is the original city that I built, and we've come quite a long way. I apologize, in my first video, I should have explained things, so let me do that as quickly and as succinctly as possible. In the middle there, on the bottom, you will see green, blue, and yellow. Green is homes, blue is commercial, and yellow is industry. The colorful block on the right side is to delete those zones. And then on your bottom left side there, the one with the three things, it keeps pulsing every once in a while, that shows you a view of all the worlds that you can choose. The gold one in the center there is what you're working on right now, your city. And then the blue shield underneath that, if you click on that one, it'll take you to your industry. And by that I mean coal, raw ore, and oil. It'll show you what mechanics and buildings to use to get the stuff extracted. So that's all that. And then I think most of it is self-explanatory. You can see the symbols that show where the water is, how your power is doing, things like that. So I've made a good amount of money because of my coal, which I'm exporting. And so I start to move things around because in my first video I mentioned that I build with the sim in mind. Like they're real live beings and we have to take care of their needs. But depending on which way the wind blows, where the water is underneath the ground, that is how I will situate my sim houses. They have to be away from pollution and they can't be too close to underground water. So I put them in spots where the wind is, they're always upwind of industry and any kind of pollution. But this was a very bad design. And the reason it's that way is because that circle road up at the top there, all of that is my coal. And I don't want to build anything on top of it. So that's the way I play. That's the way I've always thought. I could be doing it all wrong, and that might be why I'm having constant same issues with this game. I don't know. Now, the other thing here, too, is depending on the width of the roads, your houses are not going to be able to expand to their fullest potential. You will constantly get messages saying, increase this to expand, or there's not enough room to expand. So those white dots you see on the road are actually lights. And if you go I believe it's 6 lights on either side, and you draw your road down from the 6th light, you should be able to get homes on either side of that road that can expand to their fullest potential. And I try to do that, but with the limited amount of space I have here, it's next to impossible. Another thing too, industry. Industry is good. If you don't have enough industry, your commercial cannot grow. And then they'll start complaining. There's not enough shipping, there's not enough shipping. There's not enough freight. So you have to balance commercial with industry. However, the game mechanics, oh my gosh. If you allow your industry to go to its fullest potential by expanding the road, still having sump pump issues. I apologize for the gaps in my speech. Anyway, if you allow industry to go to its fullest potential by expanding your road to its highest width, they're going to become these massive factories that become hazmat situations. And if you do not have a hazmat fire station, you're in big trouble. They burn for hours and then they just absolutely explode all over the place. And then you have this ugly black scar on the ground that does not go away. And I always, when I first started playing this game, I always listened to every single pop-up. And I kept adjusting and changing and doing whatever they asked me to do. And that kept happening over and over again. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I refuse to put my industry on anything larger than a medium road. And it never happens. If you can afford that humongous hazmat fire station, it comes with a helicopter and all different kinds of departments. The same thing with the police station. And it gets really expensive. Now, I am playing in sandbox mode. But let me really quick here. This is the second plot of land that I bought. So I went from, I think I just went north. This has coal and ore. So I thought I would mine the ore, but then I thought, the coal's there, I might as well do it. Water seems to be an issue in this world. I thought I chose the world that had all of the Asian names. That is probably the best out of all the worlds. They just seem to flow well. You don't have as many issues. The shipping canals and the train lines all run succinctly. I just had a ball with that one. And that's the one I thought I chose, but it's not. So we'll have to see what happens. But anyway, this is the second plot of land. I was going to go for the ore, but I ended up choosing ore and coal just to have a stockpile of the coal. I mentioned in my first video, I start out using a fossil fuel to power my worlds. And then my eventual hope, as part of a challenge, is to get them to wind and solar power, which, again, I mentioned in the last video, is very tough to maintain. The water towers in that first land there, I don't normally do that. But I figured I would start off small, and every single one of those water towers was not enough to give enough water to my entire city, which to me seemed like a small city. So I always go with the water plant. So I did that this time in this second world. I'll go back and get rid of my water towers in the other one. But you have to make enough money in this game in order to do that. It's not cheap. It is not cheap to purchase and maintain anything in this game, which again is part of the challenge. I think I mentioned in my first video that this to me is more of a strategic build game as opposed to just strictly building. I suppose City Skylines is like that too. And if you're really good at it, you know how to elevate roads and switch lanes and things like that. It just seems so overly technical to me that I'm intimidated by City Skylines. I keep going back to it and I keep making attempts. I've actually made progress. I watched a video and the guy actually explained how to hook up power and water. And all this time I had been assuming that you had to put a power line across everybody's house. And you don't. You just have to make sure it touches the blue or purple space near. All these years, and I'm finally learning that. So what else did I need to explain that I did not explain before? I did tell you it's very easy to make money in the game. And it's just as easy to spend it all real quickly. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. Well, maybe one more thing. Education is extremely important. If you don't want crime to run rampant in your city, you have to stay on top of your education. And you start with an elementary school, you work your way up to the high school. Putting a library in works just as well, and it's much cheaper. But the more that your Sims are educated, the less likely the crime rate will go up in your town. However, you'll notice when I start this plot of land here that criminals from my first world are going to come over to this one. You'll keep seeing pop up. It's at the top. It's silly. Another constant, and I don't know if it was deliberately built into the game or if it's a result of the game dying and they just left it as is. And I know there's no follow-up, there's no care taken of this game anymore by the developers. I understand that, but what I mean is the same scenarios play out again and again and again, and I don't know if it was like that when the game originally came out. And an example is at the at the start of every game, the one you begin, the first thing to occur are massive fires. Now, when I talk about expense, when you add the fire department, the police station, and the medical clinic, you're broke. And the cost of running those things makes you even more broke. So you have to stay on top of it. I install them so that I don't have to worry about not being able to afford them later. So I will put them in because I am playing in sandbox mode, but I never start them up right away. I give them a full day and then I raise the taxes 10%. And then once we start making a little bit of profit or the debt goes down, then I will open up the police station, the fire department, and the clinic. And that raises the happiness, which then in turn makes your sim want to expand. And expansion is the key to making more money and having more options, but it's also a downfall. But the first thing to occur is that everything's going to go up in flames. And they're going to complain about not having a fire department. If you've got a second plot of land like this one, and fires occur, the fire department from your first island will come rushing over here. They don't always make it, but they do come over here. Ambulance will come over and police. They will all patrol, even though you haven't got yours set up yet. This plot of land being flat, and the wind is coming off of the expressway this time, so it's moving in the direction of those clouds, makes it much easier to build up a city with occupants in it as opposed to all industry or all commercial industry. My ore is on the bottom, but it is near water, and that makes me a little nervous. See, so here's the blaze party. This happens every single time. I let them burn out. I don't worry about it too much because these are brand new Sims, and most of this is commercial. So if they're going to be that dumb, I don't want them living in my city anyway. You can name the cities if you want to, but I don't know that it makes that much of a difference. So I don't necessarily do that. So you're going to let everything burn out and then just wait. It's not the end of the world, is all I'm telling you. It happens every single time. There goes KFC. Well, I hope you enjoyed my second installment here. I do hope you're enjoying this series. And as always, I thank you so much for supporting my channel, sticking with me to the end here. I hope you have an absolutely fabulous day. Bye-bye.